Hey, welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. We're in the kitchen today. I'm going to show you how to make cayenne powder. Here's a few that aren't quite ripe yet. You can pick them at this point and they will ripen on your countertop. Here's another plant. You can see these are getting nice and ripe. That one's pickable. I'll take that inside and let it sit on the countertop and get red. This one down here is touching the ground. There's a problem when they touch the ground. As you can see, that's a way for bugs to get inside there. So that one's a loss. Got a red one down over here. Let's see if it's touching the ground. Let's see if it's, yeah, see, that's not good. That is how you get wire worms right there when they touch the ground. Not much you can do with it. These are so long. Here's another one touching the ground. That one seems okay. So we got two keepers here and one that we're gonna have to look at. Well, I've got a lot of cayenne peppers, and one of the things I love to do with my cayenne peppers is dry them, dehydrate them, and crush them into cayenne powder. You might think, well, why go to all that trouble when you could just go down to the store and buy cayenne powder in a jar for cheap? Well, it's the principle of the matter, right? You're growing your own food. It's nutrient dense. It's got a lot of good minerals in there you're not getting from the commercial farmers. And it's, you know, maybe organic if you grow organically. So I like to make my own powder just because it's fun. I enjoy it. And, well, one of those things that gardening is all about. So let me show you how we're going to do this. Always check for wire worms. Wire worms are the larvae of click beetles, and I have found them in these before. I just like to split them in half. You can take the seeds out if you want. I'm not going to. If you're sensitive, wear gloves, because cayenne peppers are nice and spicy, and that capsaicin will stay on your fingers, and you don't want to rub your eyes or touch the nether regions of your body when you got this stuff on your fingers. If you do have it on your fingers, a little bit of lemon juice will help cut that and get it off. So I'm just cutting the ends off and splitting them down the middle. You can do smaller chunks if you want, but this time I'm going to go ahead and keep the seeds in when I dehydrate, because when I grind it up, all those seeds will get ground up as well. Again, I'm making cayenne powder. I'm putting these on my dehydrator rack. No wire worms in there. Some of these are drier than others. I've had these cayenne peppers just naturally dry out on my countertop. You can do that, or you can dry them in the sun, or you can do what I'm doing and dehydrate them. Again, just checking for wire worms and discolored seeds. Don't want those. Don't want those. This variety is called Red Flame. It's a hybrid from Johnny Seeds. Prolific producer. Grew it last year, loved it. We'll be growing it from now on. All right, just split those and put them on the deck here. I'll probably need 2 decks, maybe 3 for all of this. I'll show you my dehydrator setup in just a moment. Now, some of you folks call these chilies. We call them peppers. I don't think it matters. The English way is that chilies are hot and peppers are not. But here in Texas, if it's a pepper, it can be hot or sweet. After all, we call them jalapeno peppers, right? They're not sweet, they're hot. Serrano peppers, cayenne peppers, that's what we call them. Elsewhere they call them chilies. You can see I'm just placing them around the bottom deck here of my dehydrator. And I've got some other decks that we can put on top in just a moment. This dehydrator is an inexpensive dehydrator. There are no custom settings, it's just on or off, and I find that it works wonderful for all kinds of vegetables. Dehydrated all kinds of things in here. So we'll just kind of rearrange them. Doesn't matter if they touch so much, you're gonna find that they shrink up and withdraw from one another. But if you're concerned about that, well, just put them where they don't touch. I'll run this until they feel dry, and then we will take them off and grinding them into powder. Now let's say you have some smaller peppers, like some Tabascos you're trying to dehydrate. They make these finer grids you can put on top of your deck here, and that keeps them from falling through. These will shrivel up quite a bit. They'll lose quite a bit of their volume. I put a couple of jalapenos in there too since I had the space. Take the lid and drop it on top, and all you have to do is plug it in. I will let this run for several hours, at least until all my peppers are nice and dry, crispy dry. I want them super crispy and dry. No pliability whatsoever if I can avoid it. And you want to get these into your grinder as soon as you get that, as soon as you take them out. You don't want them to absorb any more moisture or they won't powder quite as nicely. So I guess you could put them in a plastic bag if you wanted to, if you wanted to wait and get another batch. But if you want to wait and get another batch before you do your grinding, what I would do is take them all out and put them back in the dehydrator for an hour or so before you grind them, if you're doing multiple batches. That just makes sure that they powder up real nice. And I'm not going to let this run inside because it will fill the house with irritating vapor to those who are more sensitive to it. But that's all I've got right now of my cayenne powder from last year, so I really need a bunch more. I need to fill this jar. I'll run this right here on my front porch. There we go. Well, that's about how easy it is to dehydrate. Now we need to grind everything into dust, essentially. Once this is dry, I'll show you how to do that. This little dehydrator has been a great tool in my kitchen. It's about $45, $50 on Amazon. Really cheap and really simple. So get your dehydrator and make all your pepper powders and chili powders and spice powders. It's a great tool. I'm going to let this sit there for a while. We'll come back tonight and see how they're doing. Okay, it's the next day. It only took about 6 hours for all those peppers to dehydrate into a real crunchy consistency. And remember how I said you didn't have to worry too much about the seeds? Put them in a plastic bag and give them a good shake. And you'll notice all the seeds tend to fall out and gather at the bottom. So you can easily separate those seeds, at least the majority of them, from the red part, which is the part I like. If you're making red pepper flakes, this is a real easy way to get the seeds out. What I don't like about red pepper flakes when I put it on my pizza is half or more of it is seeds, and I just don't like that. So another advantage of making it yourself is you can customize your seed to flesh ratio. So all that pepper that we dehydrated comes down to this. Now, how to grind it up. A couple of methods I've used. I've used a coffee grinder, and I would suggest if you use the coffee grinder method, it's super easy, but that you use a dedicated coffee grinder for your herbs and peppers. If you go make your morning coffee, it's going to be a little bit spicy. Another method is the old school method, which I'm going to show you now. It's using a mortar and pestle. In my case, it's a Mexican molcajete, which is a traditional Mexican mortar and pestle. So let me grab that and we'll get to crushing. Here's what we're using today. This is a granite molcajete, and when you buy these new, you got to season them and sit there and work them. But once you work them and get them seasoned in, this gets real smooth in here. And even as you're using it, you're going to get some mineralization from the granite in your food, which actually gives it a little bit of flavor. So we're going to use this and we're going to crush up our peppers. And I suggest if you do this and you're sensitive to the powder, that you be careful not to breathe heavily on it and blow that dust up into your face, because it can get a little bit overwhelming. Also, like I said before, when we were cutting the peppers, if you're sensitive, wear some gloves. Let's get this going. So I'm just going to take a handful of my peppers and stick them in there just like so. Work a little bit at a time. That's probably enough. And you can hear how dry they are. And you can see in there, they just crush up real easy. Now you'll want to take out any bits that you see in there that you might not want, like some of that brown pith. The pith is actually pretty spicy. And then it's just a matter of grinding them just like so. It takes a while, it takes a little effort, but you'll get it. Now you can see those seeds in there don't grind up as easily. If you want those seeds to grind, you got to work it a little harder. they will grind up. Angle your tool. Is this the mortar and this the pestle? Or is this the mortar and this the pestle? This is the pestle. Now if you like a little chunkier cayenne powder with a few seeds, then we're done. I'm going to give it a little more. Coffee grinder will render this into dust real quick. Now I'm going to take a spoon and just scrape the edges and make sure I got everything ground up according to my liking. Mix the chunks around a little bit more. Let's give it another one. Oh, I can already feel it in my nose. That'll clear your sinuses. This is the rest of it. You can see that I've got quite a bit in there. And we'll just keep grinding. Get back in there. I want all that pepper flake. You know what? I think I'm done. A few seeds in there is okay. Well, there we are. Cayenne powder. Nice, huh? Not too terribly much, but it's more than I had before. And I grew it. That's the point. So there we have it, cayenne powder. Thank you for joining me on Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. If you like our content, I invite you to subscribe. We're going to be working in the summer garden coming up soon. We're going to be transitioning over to summer plants, summer sowing, and all the meanwhile we're going to be harvesting the spring bounty that remains. Tomatoes here, just about done. It's too hot for them to pollinate. Going to have to take out a lot of plants. Some of my cherry tomatoes will keep going a little longer through the summer, but I need that space. So got tons of cherry tomatoes. In fact, this alone was yesterday's harvest. I'll make some tomato sauce. So, gardening in a small context, you can make your own food. You can make good food, nutrient-dense food, you know, pesticide, herbicide-free food, good quality food that you could eat with a good conscience. That's what we're all about here. If you like that kind of stuff, follow us and learn along with me. And we'll talk to you next time. Happy gardening, happy cooking, happy making cayenne powder to you. Bye-bye. Oh, sneak peek. Future pickles.